talk, please leave the path to the camera a bit open. So,
Mahyad.
wow, we finally have all of you here.
Yeah.
That's a pleasure to have you all here. Let's get started. We're already a bit late. Thanks for joining us. That's the first thing. I would kindly ask Arshid to give us a bit of explanation about the Iranian jazz, since he has always been talking and too much involved in the progress of this kind of music, and he's always been called as someone who's done the rebirth of this music. So please, it would be nice to have your talks.
Oh, maybe first I start to introduce also Mahyar, who's a cellist player coming from Tehran. Right away, very last week, I think. Yeah. And so you will listen to his playing, and we just started to play together like 1 week ago. Yeah. And today we started to discover also Sascha, who's from Munich. And so we will try to show that in jazz it's really open. And maybe this is why it can suit not under this Afro-American tradition, which is the origin of jazz, but it can go to every country, and you can give the color of the different ethnies, different traditions, different musics inside it. And in the International Day of Jazz, you can see Herbie Hancock going, who is the big ambassador now of this jazz music. He goes in every country, in the Asian countries, and he encourages this free this freedom actually in jazz, where you can bring other cultures and then you improvise with this same principles that you have in jazz. And in Persian tradition and folkloric music, you already have a lot of improvisation. You have themes, you have improvisation part. You have also this in folk music. You have a lot of improvisation. In the classical Persian music, it's more written, as it is in classical Western music. But in folk music, it's even very open. So people just listen to each other and improvise. So there is something in Persian music that it's not that far, actually, traditionally to improvisation.
Awesome, great. So one thing, everyone is somehow recalling this as a fusion music. I would like to know that what is being fused with what? Is it also about the instruments? It's about the taste? It's about... We never found a good word for this.
Yes, we just kind of talked together before. Music is music, actually. And it's true that we want to call something because to identify, maybe because of marketing also. When you say world jazz or Persian jazz, when you go to a world festival, they say it's too jazz. When you go to a jazz festival, they say it's too world. And so, music is music, is what is really inspired by everyone and what they feel. But it's true that what we do, what we kind of identify as Persian jazz, with also Mohan Mirarab and others who do this, is sometimes there are the scales, you have the melodies, you have the rhythms, you have a lot of impaired rhythms, as maybe you can hear tonight. Impaired rhythms which might seem being difficult, but as it is sometimes made in the tradition, they are more easy actually to hear and to because it has always been played like this. You have this in Afghan music, in Persian music. Then you have the words. You have the traditional songs harmonized in a jazz way. So these are the different ways you can do this fusion between Persian, the rhythm, the melodies, and some known songs reharmonized.
Thank you so much. Mayer, first of all, it's a pleasure to have you here. I've been a big fan of your music for a long time, and it's a pleasure to be sitting next to you. I know that you are having some problems with this word. I somehow know the reasons, but it would be nice for the audience to find out that why you are not in favor of this fusion genre or talfiqi music in Farsi.
Yeah. The word talfiqi is not the exact translation of fusion. You know, in Iran we have a Ministry of Culture that has only 4 genres: Iranian classical music, Western classical music, pop, and so the other things are fusion. So even the electronic music is in that category, you know. So that's why I have problems. I don't have any problem with the fusion world or you know, the words similar to that, but it's just that what we have talked about in last years. It's just something very Iranian inside Iran, you know, so it affects everything. It affects advertisement, it affects awards, it affects everything. So that was a problem, you know.
Yeah. So there's nothing against the fusion music.
Nothing against fusion.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But you also agree that, do you agree that there is a specific definition around this fusion music, or what's the proper translation in Farsi? Could we have any translation for that?
I don't know. I don't really know.
And it's not your task to do this, I guess.
Yeah. It's, you know, I think that if I am an Iranian musician, I cannot think, you know, I just have to think Iranian. I cannot do anything else. And so that's why I think this kind of thinking is called fusion. If I am Iranian, so I think Iranian, I compose Iranian. This is a culture. This is something inside. And so if I am, for example, I don't know, Syrian, so the way of thinking is Syrian. So
yeah, got the point.
yeah.
Thanks. Sascha, it's also super great to have you here. For those who are living in Munich, I guess they know Sascha already, but he's a super perfect musician that you would really enjoy his music tonight. What I want to know is, do you, as a German musician, do you ever come up with the struggles that Mayer was talking about what is my genre? Do you even care to find out what is your genre, or to whom do you leave this? Do you have good critics in Germany who can identify your genre, or how is this thing happening here?
I mean, I personally don't have a genre in my head, so basically it's other people telling me what I do. So, and that might be confirmative with me or not. I mean, world music is a nice word, I think. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm on this world, so you could say that. If people would describe me as Bavarian musician, I would probably say, yeah, well, no. I mean, but I don't know. It's coming from outside. I would never also call this fusion. I just had like very short time today with this very nice musicians and very perfect musicians. So I wouldn't call that fusion. I would call that exchange, or what? I mean, fusion you could see as one point as people, not just music. I enjoy people from other cultural backgrounds, so to say. Doesn't matter really where from, but just the exchange, I guess.
I really like this definition. The fusion is the people. It's super nice. Arshid, we were just talking that you were starting the new concerts of Iranian Jazz in 1992-3, you were saying. Can you give us a bit of your feeling that the time that was passed and we were not having any progress in that side, and then you started it again, and now we are evolving, and now we are so much hearing this Iranian Jazz. Could you give us a bit of your experience on that?
Also, a little short story of Iranian jazz. It was maybe in the 50s that some American even musicians went to Iran. They even went until playing santur and playing jazz standards with santur. That was in the 1950s. And Duke Ellington, as you know, made a Middle East tour. He composed Isfahan, Caravan, and all these things. Very inspired by the. He was also. You have a lot of stories that there were some CIA guys in the in his musicians, which is we don't know. So that was the tour of seduction of the American culture in the Middle East, and they went in Iran, and of course they met a lot of connections there and inspiration there. And it's true that in the pop music before the revolution, we have a lot of influence of jazz, jazz fusion, jazz rock, also Brazilian music and things like that in all the arrangements of Varojan or Gugush or. And then, well, after the revolution, it was for a moment it had disappeared, and a lot of musicians had gone away. And it was about in the 92 when I started coming back. I saw some people playing a little bit. We tried to make some bands and things. And in 1993, they made the first non-public concerts of jazz in Iran with some musicians and. Peter Soleimani-Pour, he's not that quitted us last year or 2 years ago. He was this very good clarinet and saxophone player who was maybe the only musician who tried to rebuild a lot of band of jazz. And in the 2000, there were a lot of musicians and starting to play jazz. And which is incredible now is that you see in people having 20 years old, they don't have any there is very few menus, there is no budget, there is a lot of possibility of concerts. But and for women, it's not easy to sing. I mean, it's even forbidden to sing really for a mixed audience. And you see a lot of people, women 20 years old, 19 years old, 18 years old, singing jazz, very good, amazingly good. And a lot of musicians like Amir Darabi we're speaking about is like maybe 20, 21, and he's kind of genius of jazz. And well, this gives hopes that even with all these difficulties and restrictions and no budget, people are interested into this kind of opening and improvisation and try to get it and put it into this Iranian also feeling.
Yeah, thanks. One of the problems that I guess that we are not yet having too much ready ears for the Iranian jazz is the venues and artists not making an infrastructure for people to hear the music a lot. I remember that you were one of the only few bands, you're not the Iranian jazz band, but one of the alternative bands who was at least giving a try to make a cheap ticket for the students and so on, and it was a very nice gesture. What do you think that how can artists play a role to make their music be heard a lot more than what it is already?
Artists should do anything. You know, I believe that you need to do anything to connect with the people, with your own generation, who is trying to connect with you. So what I tried in all of these years, I mean, me and my band. We have tried so much to connect with the people, especially the young generation, because we had the same concerns, you know, culturally, politically. So So we are always ready to do anything. Even we try to, you know, make concerts free, free concerts or cheap tickets, anything, because it's not just about the money and not just about the concert. It is about talking. As an artist, you are the representative of your own people, of your own young people, especially. So this is a concern, So we do anything.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
super nice to hear. But
Yeah.
would you also do anything?
I don't know.
No, but is this already also a
What are
question
you
to your
suggesting?
mind? No. I'm just asking that is this also on your mind that you should try hard to get some audience, or you don't care about your audience and you just do your music and you say that they should like it or not, I do my music?
No, I care about the audience very much. That's all.
No comment.
It's, yeah, I don't know what I should say.
No, but let me clear up. So I mean, the music that you create, they are mostly based on improvisation and so on. But do you have the audience? I'm not talking about the venues and the performances, but when you're creating the music, do you think about the audience and how they could like your music and so on, or you just try to have an input to your audience that this is the music that you should hear too?
While I'm doing, I'm trying to avoid thinking about this. But before and after, sure. So, I mean, it's an energy. It's an exchange. So, you notice when you watch live streams, it's something else because this is missing. So, it's really important for the energy in the room, I guess. But other than that, I try not to think about it.
Awesome. One more thing that you were just talking about, you said that it's only been less than a year that you've started to play with the Iranian artists from the Scene Festival previously and now tonight. How do you find the experience? Why you have not played before with the Iranian music? Because you're already playing with too many, international musicians. It just didn't happen to play with the Iranians, or
It just didn't happen till this year.
okay? And how do you see the perspective? Do you find many things in common, or it's hard to integrate your music with them?
No, I find it very nice and very easy to integrate today. They are very nice guys and I'm feeling very comfortable.
Awesome, thanks. And I just want to go on with one final, but maybe long question from Arshid. You've partially answered this question, but I want to know that I personally think that the Iranian jazz and Iranian alternative music has not found its global audience yet as much as the other similar countries like Turkey, Lebanon has found. As Sascha has already played with many non-Iranian musicians from Middle East and so on, but not any Iranians. Maybe this is one of the reasons. Do you have anything in mind that when and how could we get to the point?
Well, it's true that this is the possibility for musicians in Iran to do this kind of music and to hear this music. Playing jazz as a band or as a musician alone at your home is very different. If you can go to a venue to jam for a jam session, if you can have many venues to go and play for people and for the audience, this is really great. And this possibility was limited in Iran for a long time. That is why it has been developing only very recently. Then it's open sometimes in Iran, but some external politics like Trump comes. And I must say that last festivals of jazz was kind of cancelled in Iran because there were no any budget and sponsors to put money in this kind of events. And when you don't have any money from outside or inside coming because there is no any business anymore, that also limits. And the effect is controversial. I mean, they try to put pressure economically in Iran, but actually they close all the all the ways you can attract people into to open themselves more and to listen to other musics, to other cultures. And well, the question is not maybe easy, but I mean, you have both limitations that had make difficult for people from Iran to develop this side. But I think they are doing. You know, in Lebanon, you were saying in Lebanon, it has always been open. They has always had all the religions, all the tendencies, and they have respected it. And the festivals, even during war, the Beit Din, etc., were there. Rabbi Abu Khalil was doing this music for 20, 30 years ago. So, yeah, here in Iran, it was more difficult to do that.
Okay. Looking forward to the future. If you have any comments on this, please bring it on. Otherwise, we won't keep the audience waiting more to listen to your beautiful music. Okay. It was great to have you here. Thank you so much.